Supervisor Brown just called and he's working on getting logged on.
Okay.
Good.
So who's on the phone that did not come in on the computer? Because we can only hear your phone number.
Number.
Yeah. 071, that's all I can tell you.
So who's on the phone whose number ends in 071?
This is Norm. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hey, Norm. Yeah, we heard a lot of
Norm.
rustly papers, but because we can only hear your phone number.
That's
Yeah, it's
great.
open. I don't know how to mute, but if you can mute me out, I'll just listen on the meeting.
Well, if you have something to say, I guess we will try to. I wonder if we can. Daniel, can you rename him?
I just did.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll mute you on this end.
Thank you, sir.
There's a way to raise your hand or something in this, isn't there?
There is.
I'm not sure if you're just calling in though.
Yeah. Oh,
Man, I don't know how to do that. Well, if we have questions for Norm, we'll just make sure that we.
So
Unmute
Norm,
him.
you have questions, why don't you text Chris? Would that work?
Yeah, or email or whatever.
Yeah, I can call you on my hand cell phone too, Chris, if I really had a burning desire. I don't see any real need for me to participate today.
Yeah, this should be a pretty quick meeting. for
And
the
then we
most
have
part.
Kevin and we have Supervisor Brown.
Okay, good.
howdy.
Hi. How's everybody?
Great, thank you.
Okay, so it's 3:01. Maybe we should get started. We're in
Yeah, if we
pretty
can
good
have a
shape.
quorum, we're good.
All right, let's get going. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. And Allison, would you like to do the roll call
Sure. Madam Chair Orr,
here?
Vice Chair Nolan,
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Palguda,
Oh, he's muted. He's here.
He was here.
I'm here. Yeah. He's there.
Oh, there he is.
Member Brown,
Greg, can you hear us?
I'm gonna see if I can unmute him. There we go.
He's muted.
Craig, can you unmute so you can, we know he's here.
Yeah, he's here.
Okay, he's here.
and Member Best,
Here.
and Member Stump is absent, but we have a quorum.
Okay, very good. All right, so we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mayor Nolan, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Well, yeah, I'd be honored to. If everybody wants to stand, look at my belly.
All of us.
Put your hand on your heart and recite after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
And
to the republic
which
for which it stands,
One
nation, under God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and
liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Okay.
Very good.
It's a lot
We
easier.
all live together.
Yeah, it's funny when my rotary, we do the 5-way test. All of us doing it at the same time on Zoom is quite crazy. Yeah, so. All right, very good. So we will now, do we have anyone to call to?
We have no call to the public.
All right, very good. And so we'll move on to item number 4, consideration and action to approve the May 20th minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our May 20th, 20 executive session.
Very good. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Supervisor
Mayor-
Brown, you're still on mute. I saw you tried to second that, but you're still on mute.
Okay, but for the record, we have Mike Best and Mayor Palguda.
Yes.
Very good. Now we will go to action number 5, possible action of future meetings platform. We talked about this last time after we went offline.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Craig. And
Hold on, let me do my alt in.
okay.
Okay. So, and Supervisor Brown, maybe you could help us as chairman of the county board of what's happening, of anything different if I say something wrong, but we talked with the board office, and all the meeting rooms had been canceled through, I believe, July 5th. And I believe the plan is still to allow us to use meeting rooms after that. Is that still accurate?
That's still accurate. However, the way things are going over the last week or week and a half, I would say this is going to go beyond July at this point.
Okay.
That's just a guess, unless things turn around in the next week or so.
Okay.
I feel the same way, Greg.
It's unfortunately, we're on our dailies are up 3 to 4 times what they were before.
Yeah.
We've also got hospitalizations when we had none before. So
And
this is going on for over a week.
the governor has a press conference today, actually right now. He said
Yeah.
today, so I imagine he's going to put out some other requirements. So then we want to stay where we are now until things
We'll
move.
probably, we'll notify everybody. We can change on a dime. It's not that big a deal. The
Yeah.
problem is we just I can't give anybody a promise 2 weeks into the future right now.
Okay.
We'll just play it by ear.
Any other comments?
Well, for our council meeting, we had some on the dais and some down in front. And that room's big enough, I think, to where if we wanted to meet together, we could be social distance easily.
And we did the same thing, Mike, at Prescott. We had another people in the front. We put myself and Alexa at, and then we had everybody else. So right now, we'll
If
stay.
we wanted to have a board meeting in the board up there in the board, but it would have to be limited to X number of people.
Sure.
It'd be the board. Our whole board is what, 8 people, 9 people, including staff.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
therefore there's 9 right there. And if you got less, and if you can only have 10 in a room, you got room for one person to show up, and that's it.
Well, we could also give the option, right? It would be if you're able to come, if it opens up, Supervisor Brown, if it opens up, then we could do it. Right?
Sure.
And
And
then we could also-
actually in our board meetings, we've been having people come in remotely as well as in person. So
Absolutely. And I think we could do that, and maybe somebody might feel a little more comfortable coming in remotely. I kind of heard you say that, Terry, or you? Mayor Nolan?
I'm sorry.
No, I'm trying to say, I heard that you kind of made signals like you would kind of like to not come together next time if possible.
Oh, with this, doing on Zoom is fine. My council, we got 10 people with the council and the staff and the attorney. So, if the governor doesn't release that to more people in a room, then, what's the sense in having a meeting inside a building when you can do it on Zoom? We had over 20 people last night at a council meeting on Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's more than what we get normally in a damn building.
Sure.
So,
Okay,
but
well,
yeah,
we can say like this for the next meeting, and then we can talk about it later, see how it's going. So,
Yeah, and just for the board and TAC members that are on, we are gonna plan on having July meetings. So TAC on the 2nd, and these weren't originally advertised, so they're special meetings. So if we go with the regular 3rd Wednesday, I believe that would be July 15th.
good.
And yeah, because we will have a rather large MTIP amendment. The TAC and staff, we've been having discussions about the programming of future planning projects based on our 2045 plan. So we've got a pretty big one for July. And then we also have the amendment for the 100,000 extra of the for the design money on 69. We got the JPA for that from ADOT yesterday. So I wasn't sure we were going to have it in time for this meeting, so we pushed it to July. So
Okay.
that's going to be an important meeting for us. So just put that on your calendars, but we'll get an invite out to you all soon.
okay, sounds good. All right, so as it is right now, we stay the way we are until things begin to change for the better. And so now we'll go on to item 6. Possible action to amend and renew lease with Yavapai County. Chris?
So our lease is expiring for the CYMPO offices with Yavapai County at the end of this month. Allison got in contact with Mary Connor over in the county to help get us an agenda item for the July 1st Board of Supervisors meeting. I have talked with Phil Bordon and Jack Fields, and we think that the easiest, quickest way is the original lease had in there 4 12-month extensions. And we agreed, well, why don't we just do 1 4-year extension? It just seems to make sense. Unless you want to do something different, we can stick with the existing wording and just do a 12-month. Or we can, Jack did agree to modify it to say 1 4-year extension. There's other things that probably need to be modified in there that were very much geared towards when we first moved in, and it talked about carpet cleaning and painting and all that, and that's all been done. So we could come back and revisit this in the future and do some modifications to delete some of that stuff that just doesn't make sense anymore. But in the essence of time and to be able to make the county board meeting, I would say we either do 1 12-month extension under the existing language, or the modified language would change it to 1 4-year extension. That makes sense.
Why don't we do the 1 year just so we can clean up the language in the next one? It gives us a year to do it. That's my opinion, but I'm not opposed to the 4-year either, so.
So Chairman Brown, would you like to make a motion on that?
Sure, I would move that we go for a 1-year extension on the facilities located at CCC as prescribed in the previous contract.
Good, and can we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, so we had Mike and Terry, so just pick one.
I don't care. Don't matter. Mike, go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's good. So I appreciate that. So all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, very good.
Okay.
That's
So
great.
we'll work on cleaning that up with our attorney and with Jack Fields.
Well,
at the
and
county.
you know, this is a really nice spot.
It works really well.
It does work well, yeah. So close to my house too. No. By the way, you guys don't go down Smoke Tree anytime soon for the next few weeks. It's a mess. All right, so now we will go to item 7, possible action to approve amend fiscal year 195310 with ADOT. So Chris?
Great, thank you. So this is something that we got in the middle of last week from ADOT asking us to have it signed and approved by Monday. I said, you guys can't keep doing that to us, please. That doesn't really work. But it's a very small amendment to the existing mobility management FTA 5310 grant that we had received from FY19, which we still have carry forward money on. And all it is a change in federal language that says if you accept funding from a particular type of grant, you cannot use it in combination with this 10 money, and you have to agree to not do that. Well, we don't get that grant money. So to me, this is a no-brainer. It doesn't affect us at all.
All right.
So with that, I'll try to answer any questions, but that's pretty much it.
Does anybody have any questions of Chris?
No, and Madam Chair, I'd move to make the amendment to the grant agreement GRT 19-0007473-T between the state of Arizona and Central Yavapai Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Terry Nolan, Mayor Nolan. And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Very good, passes unanimously. Thank you, Chris. All right, so now we will go on to item 8. Possible action to approve the CYMPO fiscal year 21 Title 6 plan, including the public involvement plan at the PIP and limited English LAP.
So this is something we do annually. We did submit a couple of minor changes to our Title VI and public involvement as it relates to virtual public engagement and clarifying a little bit on running our meetings like this. Luckily, we had already done added virtual public engagement language last time for the 2040 plan or 2045 plan. So we didn't have to do a whole lot. We did submit a draft of it to ADOT. They reviewed it and said it looks good.
Good.
So if you move to approve and do that and take that action, we'll ship it down to ADOT. I think the due date's actually August 1st. So we're a little bit ahead of schedule.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
yeah, I'd make a motion to approve the CYMPO FY21 Title VI plan, including the public involvement plan, limited English
Perfect.
English proficiency plan.
What was that? I missed it.
He messed up on same proficiency. It's hilarious.
Hola.
All right, so Mayor Nolan,
Yeah.
those in favor, please say aye.
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 So we're good to go.
We're good.
Passes
Thank you very
unanimous.
much.
Now we will do our RTAC, and we have our beloved Kevin Adam with us. How are you doing, Kevin?
Doing fine, Madam Chair, everyone.
Your silhouette.
Glad to make it. I missed coming up, so I'm hoping it'll in the not too distant future I can see you all in person.
Well, wish we could see you too, because
Yeah.
you all we see is your shadow.
Well, you know what? I've been told I look better in the shadows than full light. So
You do. You actually need to close that window behind you and get some paper up there so we can actually see you.
well, Supervisor Brown, if you really want to see me that much, I'll do
No, I
that.
don't.
next
I'll
time.
see you on Monday.
Okay. I'll be better lit for the Monday meeting.
There you go.
Boy, I'm disappointed.
What's going on?
Kevin, I'm disappointed. I got all ready last week for the meeting and called in and you weren't there. You sent the information out too early.
Uh-oh.
I mean, it was good, but I just forgot.
You can't win. You get criticized for sending it out too late. Now you get criticized for sending it out too early. So I'll get it right one of these days.
We'll only take your thumb and little fingers, okay?
Appreciate that.
Kevin, you need to get you some wallpaper for your screen. That way it doesn't matter what's behind you.
All right. Well, thanks for all of these wonderful suggestions. And with that, I know you guys want to keep this short, and as you would expect, things continue to be very chaotic and unpredictable. We're dealing in uncharted territory. It's not all bad, and I think that's kind of what I've been focusing on the last couple of weeks, telling people is from a revenue perspective, things aren't nearly as bad as was anticipated, although that's with a lot of caveats. And as has already been alluded to, we are seeing an uptick in cases and hospitalizations. And so, who's to say what the future holds? But in addition to it being chaotic, it's also been extremely busy. Today was a big day back in Washington. The House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee had their meeting to mark up their reauthorization bill. So basically, that committee is going through all the potential amendments and they'll vote on that. And I don't think they've quite finished. There's going to be a marathon session, but that will then go forward to the House. And at this point, they are pushing for a 5-year, $500 billion bill. Just to put that in perspective, this year's federal spending was $60 billion. So we'd be going from about $60 billion a year to $100 billion. If this in fact is the end product, there are very substantive differences with the bill that got out of the Senate Oversight Committee, which was actually quite a ways back. But the one positive is that both are pushing, both the House and Senate, as well as the White House, are all pushing for increased funding at a pretty substantial level. Of course, nobody's come up with the, how you pay for it. And so that will continue to be a challenge as this legislation moves. But There's bipartisan, bicameral support as far as making a substantial increase in the transportation investment. And then later this week, we've got, and I know board member Knight might want to chime in on this, but on Friday, the State Transportation Board is scheduled to vote on the 5-year construction program update. At this point, it has to be fiscally constrained. There's a statutory requirement that it pass prior to the next state fiscal year. Unfortunately, the ADOT's financial staff, the adjusted forecast that they have for revenues, which is all linked to COVID-19, paints a very bleak picture. They're estimating $711 million loss over 3 years, plus a deferral of $155 million in bond measures that were scheduled. So that's about an $860 million hit that they're going to have to take out from the program in various projects, as well as I think the preservation maintenance side is going to take a very substantial hit as well. And I think that they are looking, and there was a lot of pressure to see if they couldn't potentially delay until there was a better forecast to work with. I think there was also talk about potentially developing an addendum or a list of projects that have to be removed now, but in the event that the revenue outlook improves, that these would be the first projects that would go back in. And all indications are the finance team there does a risk analysis in August. And because of that risk analysis and because of the timing with knowing what has already occurred as far as losses go, they think they're going to have a much better handle on the revenue outlook. And there's the potential that September could be a very big meeting for them in the event that it does appear that the revenue situation has changed, and they'll be able to add some things in that unfortunately they're probably going to have to take out or defer this week. So that's going to be massive. And I mentioned that things are looking much better than what was thought. And I'll start out at the state level. The legislature's Finance Advisory Committee, which is primarily their budget staff that does the revenue forecasting that feeds into when they set their state budgets. Back in April, they were estimating about a $1.1 billion loss in revenues over 2 years. Now, they had put this wide margin of error on that. They said, we could be off by 500 million in either direction. So it was really just, I guess, an educated guess. But since then, we got the March numbers in, and there was a 32.7% drop in revenue, which is a big number. But what's significant was March still performed $270 million better than what they were anticipating. And this Friday, we will get the May numbers in. Now, because of all of the concern and interest, they did a preliminary May report a couple of Fridays ago. And at that point, it was the same situation. There was certainly a loss in revenue. But at that point, they were predicting May to do 163 million better than what they had predicted. And so, there was that 1.1 billion was the projected loss. And a month and a half later, that's already improved by 432 million. So that's a big chunk of what was expected to be lost. And so that's a positive. And in fact, we're still ahead of where we were last year. So year-to-date revenues are still better than they were last year. And of course, a lot of that is because we had three tremendously strong, the first three quarters of the year. So that was basically able to absorb the losses we've experienced so far. And so things are bad, but not as bad as what was anticipated. And then at the federal level, the May jobs report came out about a week and a half ago, and they were expecting up to 8 million in job losses, and the economy actually grew by 2.5 million jobs. Much of that were folks who had been reported as temporarily laid off, and so nationwide, the economy was starting to get back up and running. And so unemployment had been at 14.7%. They were expecting it to hit almost 20, and it actually went down to 13.3. So a lot could still happen. We could see, but if we go with as it has been, we weren't hit as bad economically as what was anticipated. So that will obviously play into the state budget. Although at this point, it's still very unclear what the state legislature is going to do this year. There was a lot of talk about a special session, maybe as early as late June, that would probably be very much COVID-19 related. Because of all the revenue uncertainties, I don't think they want to be too expansive in what they consider for the remainder of the year. But now there's even rumors that they're not going to be able to put this together, and you may not see the legislature convene. So again, a tremendous amount of uncertainty out there, and I am trying to tell people to, at least for now, things haven't gotten as bad as what was thought, and hopefully that will continue.
Might add, Kevin, that I think ADOT is a little more optimistic. I think you're going to see a different meeting Friday than you're expected to see, especially after the study session we had earlier in the month. Some of the numbers are considerably better than the gloom and doom that we heard at that study session. And they've gone back and rethought the way they wanted to proceed after input from multiple board members. And it looks like things are going to be a lot different. I really can't go too much into it until we actually have the meeting on Friday, but things are going to be a lot different than you might have expect them to be. I did question them. One question that you had about whether or not having a 5-year plan approved by July 1st would affect the federal funds. It will not. Federal funds will continue just like normal. So that being said, that's maybe a little bit of insight as to what actually, it depends on what the board finally approves, but there's going to be a proposal before the board, much different than what we saw the first of this month at the study session. So I think everybody's going to be pleasantly surprised. I'm going to do the best I can to keep all of the, if they have the programs that they wanted to delete or want to delete, if we can just move them farther back into the 5-year plan and not drop them out completely, that would be my strong preference. And we'll see how much of those I can get that accomplished on. How it depends on the thoughts of the other board members too. I'm just 1 vote in 7. So, but I think it'll be better than we thought it was going to be after the last study session meeting.
Madam Chair, Gary, that's phenomenal news. So any sort of ballpark on how much better the numbers are going to be that you have to work with? And then I guess what would probably be of specific interest to CYMPO is the status of I-17 and the HERF exchange program.
Well, Kevin, we haven't given up on, we're still waiting to see what the feds will do, if they will forgive the matching fund portion on the grants and that have already been awarded. They're still planning on cutting some programs to be able to fund the 189, but they're just going to move those programs. They're not going to delete them entirely. They're just going to move them back so that we can use their funds for the 189, and then still have the other programs waiting further back in the 5-year plan. So we'll see what happens. It all really depends on what we get from the what kind of word we get from the feds on the infra grant and that Tiger grant, the Bill grant. So we'll see how that plays out, but we have time. It looks like we're going to have time to find out about that before definitive decisions have to be made, which some of the numbers, and I didn't get specific numbers, but the numbers seem to be coming in at about 6% better than the 6 to 10% better than the previous what Christine put out as the previous predictions down the road, which and I saw yesterday something came across that retail sales in Arizona is up 17.7%, which is the highest ever. But and that may not be just Arizona. I don't remember whether that was Arizona or whether it was Arizona or national. But anyway, retail sales is gone absolutely through the roof. So things are looking better, and ADOT's aware of that, and so we're going to move forward a little differently than that last meeting that we attended indicated that we were.
So any other comments? So I just asked Chris, he'll send out the link for the meeting so that if you would like to tune in and watch the meeting, I mentioned, is it by Zoom or?
They use
Is it via call?
Cisco WebEx, and
Okay.
I'll once the link is posted on the State Transportation Board site, I'll email it to everybody.
Yeah, so if everybody wants to tune in, you can. So any other comments for Gary or for Kevin?
Madam Chair, this is Gary. I will be attending the meeting in person, and I believe probably 3 other board members will as well. They're going to make special accommodations for us with social distancing, and we'll be wearing masks, except possibly when we speak, but at least 3, maybe 4 of us will be in person at the Phoenix facility for that meeting. The rest will be attending virtually. I will say that the last meeting that we had with WebEx was probably the best meeting that the Transportation Board has had virtually. It was completely organized. We had 4 publics that spoke at the call to the public, and they came on when it was their turn. They spoke. There was no background noises because everybody was muted except for the one that was speaking. It was all very well organized and it went off beautifully. So we can accommodate, call the audience if for anybody wanting to attend the meeting by remotely, we can accommodate that. They did a great job of it last time, and everything's still set up to do the same thing on Friday. So anybody that wants to attend and speak, they're more than welcome.
Very good.
Good.
Sounds
I'll
good.
get that out as soon as I get it.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Kevin. Anything else? Any questions from the board? All right, great. Then we'll move on. Any discussion and directions for the staff?
Yeah, so we added this on just because it seems like new things have been coming up at the end of
Yeah.
the meeting, and it's like, well, there's nothing on the agenda.
So-
So I think we've got our direction with the
Okay.
Title VI and all that. So I'm not looking for anything else, but if
Okay.
there was anything for the good of the order, I guess
All right,
now's your time.
you guys heard him. Anything else? Great. Well, I appreciate you all being here. It's 3:35 and maybe we can catch kind of the tail end of the governor's press conference, but
Billy,
yes,
before you leave, at our council meeting, it was suggested maybe, or it could be on our next agenda, that CYMPO would pick up part of the override for the light at 1 North and 89.
I could give you an update on that.
Okay.
So we had a really good TAC meeting and went through a whole bunch of projects, and we're bringing that back for July 2nd to potentially split that cost, Mike.
Okay.
So we actually spent, I don't know, about 4 hours working on what that tip amendment would be that would potentially include that as a draft that will come back to the TAC. And it's got a bunch of stuff in there, including that as an option. So we are bringing it forward.
good.
Thank you.
Good. We also really had a nice ribbon cutting out in Kel's neck of the woods with 89 and Glassford Hill, and that was well done, I thought, Kel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good. All right, so then if there's no other discussion items, then I will adjourn this meeting. Excuse me, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to
Motion to
adjourn the meeting.
adjourn.
All right, in a second. We got it?
I think we got it.
I think we got it. So all in favor, please say aye.
Bye.
Aye.
All right, everybody, take care and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Thank you.